maybe we need to talk firstly about what does a conditioned voice look like? And then maybe if we can leap into talking about, well, if that's what a conditioned voice looks like, what do we do to recondition a voice?
Sound check. Check 1, check 2.
I think that's a great place to start. And so when we think about conditioning as an athlete, and I think it's much easier for many of us to think of this in terms of physical athletes, we have to be conditioned to meet the demands of the sport and the intensity that we're playing. So for example, and we'll transition this into singing in just a second, if you only need to do a mile of walking, that's a different conditioning level than being able to do a marathon. And so as a vocal athlete, it's going to depend on what your load is. So are you singing in your church choir once a week? Or are you on Broadway 8 times a week or performing 8 times a week? Or are you maintaining a rigorous concert tour where you are in a new city every day doing some crazy amount of performances? So each of those require a different vocal fitness level, if you will. And so the conditioning based off of vocal dose, how much, and vocal load, how loud and how long, that's going to be a little bit different for everyone. So when we think about both conditioning and deconditioning, we have to take those factors into consideration and that each of us start at a different place.
Yeah.
And so that becomes really important to remember that we're not all starting, even if the end goal is the same, we might not all be starting at the same vocal fitness level to begin with. Yeah. And just like physical fitness, we decondition very quickly from a muscular standpoint, truly within days, and certainly within weeks, both from a respiratory alignment and postural standpoint. If you don't go to the gym, you actually start to lose the strength training, and then vocally as well.
Do we know how long that is? Is there a parameter of time that people can work to?
So we do with some of the skeletal muscles, and it's going to depend on starting fitness level and your age as well, because biology plays a role in this in terms of as we age, we decondition faster and it takes us longer to get in shape. Yeah. It's easier to actually stay in shape than it is to get in shape.
Actually, let me ask a follow-up question. If we know how long it takes, that detraining is happening within a couple of weeks, how long does it take to recondition the voice?
That depends. Again, on age. Like if you're younger and if you're in your 20s, if we take age groups, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, we know if we all do the same exercise, your body responds more quickly to exercise in your younger years than it does the older you get. You will still improve. You will still reach goals, and potentially not quite the same goals, but you will still reach those goals. It just takes longer.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because in some respects, n equals 1, doesn't it? And so if you're a person in your 60s who has been consistently, using their voice perhaps at a professional standard, and maybe goes through a bout of sickness and therefore needs to go through the process of reconditioning, would we expect that person to differ from the person who is an avocational singer, sings a couple of times a month at their local church, goes through a similar sickness and is needing to recondition? Is that likely that those two individuals are going to recover differently?
Yeah, I think we all recover differently.
Yeah.
100%. And we all starting at a different place as well. And biology and physiology and recovery and injury repair within our own bodies, I think goes well beyond the voice box. You have to think outside of that voice box. Yeah. There's a lot of factors that factor into it.